This time, we're going to make a truly fantastic plasma table, a bucket of epoxy, old radio components, and some interesting woodworking techniques. You have to see this. Enjoy watching. So, first of all, I'm working on the formwork. I'm cutting out all the necessary parts on the laser machine. The next step is to start assembling. We simply make circles out of these arcs. I'm making the formwork out of plastic, since resin comes off it perfectly after it dries. And to make sure the two rings are equally spaced from each other, I came up with these spacer limiters. The final step is to apply silicone all around the perimeter and smooth it out in a circle with my finger. Here, I ran out of clear silicone, so I had to finish it off with white. The sheet of plywood on which the entire formwork is placed is thoroughly coated with a release agent. So, the formwork is ready, now I can pour the resin. I had ordered it in advance. To make the table look even more interesting, I decided to imitate a rather complex mechanism made mostly from old radio components. That's what we're collecting now. As a result, I ended up with a whole pile of goodies, which I'm now carefully arranging inside the formwork. But I'm doing it in such a way that all the cut wires will end up hidden under the main tabletop. I'm doing this to create a more realistic look of a working device. Yes, at this stage it's hard to understand what I'm talking about, but just be patient a little longer and everything will fall into place. The first layer is very thin. This is to fix all the parts in place and reinforce the formwork. We pour it in and wait for it to dry. Here, everything depends on the composition. For this purpose, I chose crystal epoxy from Artline, since it dries quickly. And already, just the very next day, I mix up a compound called Wood Pro and carefully fill all the remaining space. It takes 4 days for complete polymerization, and that means we have a whole 4 days to make the legs. That's just how it goes. That's exactly what we're doing. First, we cut the dry oak boards into smaller boards, and then we use a bandsaw to cut those smaller boards into very thin boards called lamellae. The next step is to turn to the laser machine again for help. We cut out this kind of construction set. With its help, we'll be gluing the lamellae together. Before gluing, we slightly moisten the wood. All is clear, no extras. Once the glue has dried, we end up with this kind of bent glued element, which just needs to be finished and have the connecting grooves made. And then we multiply that by 4, since we need 4 of these legs. That's exactly what Andre is working on. So if you have any questions about this process, you can ask him. Here's his Instagram. securely connected to each other. That's what these connecting elements are made for. After gluing, structure will look like this. The resin has dried and I removed the foamwork. We have a ring where the key element goes. So what is it? It's a plasma table. In real life it looks cooler, just like old products made by Tesla Coil. This isn't our first joint project. Once we made a table with their neon coasters. Here are some shots from that video. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. So I'm proud to know them, because they really make unique things unique on a global scale. I hope this won't be our last project together. Their Instagram? Be careful if you check their Insta, you could scroll for ages. During final assembly an issue came up and we had to pour a thin resin layer to level the glass with the outer ring. But since we post weekly, we couldn't wait 4 days for the resin to dry, as our next video would be out. So the final result has a small nuance. In the end everything was fixed. If you enjoyed our collaboration with Tesla Coil, follow them on Instagram and say hi from Topo. Then the next collaboration won't be long in coming. And thank you for watching, wishing you all the best from Topo.